Hey, it's Alex from Four Course Films. One of my most frequently asked questions is budgeting and how to budget. The reality of budgeting is that it takes experience. The more experience you have, the better you're going to be at it, the quicker you're going to be at it, and the better you're going to be able to forecast costs for a certain creative. So instead of trying to give you all of that education today, which I don't think is really possible, I think it's really something that comes with time and experience, I'm going to give you some kind of nuggets of knowledge that you can walk with and that you can use for your next bid or your next RFP. So my first piece of advice would be, if you have something that needs to be created, separate the creation and the execution. And by that I mean, get a concept together, get a script together before you bid for production. And the reason is, if you go to a hybrid production company or a production company or an agency and you're looking for all this to be done at once, and you're comparing this one to this one to this one to this one, you're comparing different ideas, which is one big variable, and then the way that they approach them, which is another big variable. And so these two are going to ebb and flow depending on the company that you're going to, depending on where their specialty really lies. And, so you're not going to be comparing apples to apples if you do that, if you don't separate them. Then you want to build a solid RFP based on the creative that you've decided on, that you've collectively within your organization decided is the best thing to tell this story or to do whatever it is that this content needs to do. My second piece of advice would be, don't go in blind. In other words, if you don't have experience in video production, do research, find friends and family, find colleagues, find people in your organization that have done it before, that have experience in film and video production, and bend their ear on your challenges. Once you have a creative together, put it in front of them. Put it in front of anyone that you trust that doesn't have a vested interest in the project to take a look at and take their best guess at what it might take to get that done. That'll help you build an RFP so that you can approach production companies and you can approach different outlets to be able to get this thing made, but also have an understanding of what you should be expecting from them. And also give them some kind of marching orders as to where you think this project should be. If you think it should be shot in 2 or 3 or 1 day, and how many locations, the talent types, all these variables. So the next point I want to drive home, and this is something that you will learn with experience, is that your biggest expense isn't your expensive director fee or your DP or all the department heads or your talent or anything like that. Your biggest expense is accident, injury, and overtime. The first two being your largest. Those are things that no matter how well you budgeted, no matter how well you saved, no matter how wisely and efficiently you put together the production and turned 2 days of shooting into a day and a half, or whatever you did to make this an efficient, effective production, all of that can be wiped away and much more with accident and injury. So something you need to be conscious of is, do we have any special stunts? Do we have any specialty equipment? Do we have any large moving pieces of metal that could hurt people? Do we have locations that might be dangerous? These are things that you really need to look closely at and understand if the location that you want or the creative that you're going for really requires this and requires you taking on this risk. In other words, here's a basic example. Do you need to shoot this on a beach? People often twist ankles on beaches, walking across beaches. You'll also probably need some specialty gear to move some of the heavier stuff around, like some all-terrain vehicles, that kind of stuff. That's another big expense, another permitting expense to bring those all-terrain vehicles onto the beach. And then also sand blowing around everywhere, water over here. You're almost always going to lose or damage a piece of equipment, and this equipment is not cheap. So understanding, do you need to have this in a location that poses all these hazards? Does the beach really add to this creative, or can we put it over here where we have less variables? And oftentimes you can't, but you want to be really conscious of the risks that you're taking and the rewards that you may reap from those risks, and making sure that that is balanced. When you're evaluating bids, you want to make sure that everyone is looking at this in the most practical way possible. You want to see similarities between these bids, you want to see where the differences are, and you want to ask about that. So even if you see a production company, or if you request a bid from a production company and maybe halfway through you decide they're not quite right for you, it's still worth seeing that through the process, just so you can ask them the questions of why they bid it this way, why they bid it that way, why is their money here, why is this so high, why is this so low. just to get their ideology. This will help you kind of walk through your own creative. One, it helps you evaluate them, and if they give you good answers, and if they're smart, and if they've really thought through this, maybe they've thought some things that no one else has, this is going to help you gain knowledge. So even if you don't plan on using this company, they will help you gain knowledge through this process so that at the end of it, you can have more and more and more information and more perspective on the project and how to achieve it. So in closing, what I'm going to say is, if you want to be good at budgeting productions, do a lot of them. That is just the reality of it. It's all about experience. So in lieu of experience, do your research, get educated, watch videos like this, ask friends and family, use your resources around you. Because the better educated you are, the better chance you have of getting together a bid that is really wise, really well composed, and really efficiently approached. And you just are setting yourself up for the best chances of success. So make sure that you do your homework, make sure that you ask people around you, and don't underestimate the importance of evaluating the front end of this. All the work that you do on the front end of this project before you award it is going to reward you down the road. So make sure you share this with your friends. If you know anyone who is doing a project and they need a little bit of a jump start on how to approach it, make sure you share this with whomever that is, and come back and visit us soon. Thanks a lot.